Welcome to a special drive of D&J Drives. It is 9:30, of course, p.m. on the 6th of July 2024. We are on Duke Street at Victoria Square, Port of Spain, and we're just going to do a little drive into Port of Spain for the effect of the lights. We're crossing Shine Street, and of course Duke Street runs all the way from here, the end of Ryson Road, all the way into Port of Spain, deeper Port of Spain, crossing Frederick Street and going down to the Charlotte Street. This is Scotbush Street, and ahead of you is the the Hyatt, and two government buildings. We're just doing a night drive to allow our viewers to see some of the same drives we've done, or rather the one drive that we did in the night time, just to see the difference with the lights, which we think are very special. So this is the end here of Ryson Road, just a little sort of aisle, just a side aisle to get back to Sackville Street, where we earlier captured the Parliament building. So that's going to be a main feature of this drive. Hopefully the lights are on display. They usually are at night, so we don't expect anything differently tonight, but you never know. So if you saw our earlier video of Port of Spain, which was uploaded before this one, obviously, you should remember this point. We pointed out the church, Sacred Heart Church, on the left on Richmond Street. We're here again, and ahead of you there is the rotunda of the Red House. Again, the police administrative building on the left. We cross Edward Street once again. And this is the Parliament of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. It's quite an impressive building, and we wanted to feature it at night. Public library ahead there on the left, as before. This is St. Vincent Street that takes you down to Independence Square, which is Brian Lara Promenade. This is 9:30 at night in Trinidad. Notice how clean and safe the streets are. That's the one end of the Parliament building. Up Abercrombie Street, and you can see the Parliament building on your left. Hall of Justice. old library, now the Eric Williams Memorial Library, and City Hall on the left. As you can see, people are leaving a function at City Hall. Everybody is peacefully going about their business. And we are on Frederick Street, the main street in Port of Spain. Driving along Woodford Square. This is Hart Street, where the Trinity Cathedral is, and we went all the way around this square to capture this night view of the Red House. If ever you visit Trinidad, this is a very good tour that you can request. It's free, and you just call ahead and book your appointment and see it. This little gate here, this is where the Jamaat al-Muslimin stormed the Parliament on July 27th. So this gate here now confines this part of the road to pedestrian traffic only, and there's a lot of history there because that's where the members of Parliament previously entered, and the Muslimin stormed the Parliament, shot the Prime Minister, killed a minister, other people were killed and severely injured, and to this day there are people, I know of a policeman who has severe mental trauma as a result of it, and it changed his life forever. So the 1990 attempted coup is a big part of Trinidad and Tobago's history, and that Red House has a lot of history in its own right, but that event made it even more remarkable. And earlier we mentioned about the bombing of the police station. All of that happened on that sad day on July 27th, 1990. So we've shown you the Red House, and there are so many other pretty lights and sights, but what we'll do here is just continue along Frederick Street as we did before. Until we get to Independence Square. Notice there are people selling kites and shirts at this time of night. So far, no gun violence, and I think I've been repeating that a bit much, but one tends to get sensitive about the negative press that is shared about all of these islands of the Caribbean that get all of these travel advisories from other countries who have more crime in them. And we can't make the point enough that there's crime in every country, and Trinidad and Tobago is no different. So here we are at Independence Square, Grand Lara Promenade, and you can see the lights, the tall buildings. There's a Starbucks. Here you see the Twin Towers. There's just so much to see and so much to do, and we're only here for a few days. We're gonna do a few of these night drives and hopefully enrich our channel with a different Caribbean perspective. Hopefully you've seen the other videos, so this drive should be familiar, but at night this time, my son and I, we are always fascinated by these lights. We just love the lights of Port of Spain. Lights in Trinidad generally, but Port of Spain is something to be seen. So we make our way along Ryson Road. As we pass the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, that's the headquarters for the Northern Division. All of this is Ryson Road. We just passed the licensing authority on the left. And we're coming to that point where Woodbrook begins. We're gonna do a drive-through of Woodbrook as well. But this is Ryson Road, and on the other side is the Aripita Avenue, or it's called now the Avenue. So Woodbrook sits between those two roads. That's the John Donaldson Technical Institute on the left. Yeah, so the three roads are Wrightson Road, Aripita Avenue, Tragreed Road. So the first two, Wrightson Road and Aripita Avenue, houses one type of house, the sort of housing stock, and then another type between Aripita Avenue and Tragreed Road. Woodbrook was is a residential area come commercial area, but in days of old it was a very upscale middle class residential area, but more on that when we do that video. We reached the end of Wrightson Road and we are now on to the Aldridge Jeffers Highway, where you can see Movie Town. We just take a drive through and just rejoin the highway so that you can see the lights. It's really like a little town of its own. It's very entertaining, but very pretty to look at night because of these lights. This is the courtyard, the Marriott courtyard on the left. Looks like a wedding reception just ended. Or maybe a graduation this time of year. It's no wonder they call this stretch of the road Hollywood Boulevard. Look at the lights of those houses in the mountains out there. So we've rejoined the Audrey Jeffers Highway, but we call all of this stretch the foreshore. So like most places, you have formal and informal names. There's a helipad on the left here. If you look up in the hills there, you can see all of the lights. There are some very tall mountains and hills, Trinidad. It's a very green space, a very green country. rich soil and the fruit are big and big vegetables and a lot of green. When you drive anywhere, you can get a lot of added value to your mental health and your vision if you're like me with a deep appreciation for green. It's a really convenient place on the left here for that gas station, but to get back out onto this highway is really difficult. It's amazing you're using your indicator to tell someone that you're turning, and their response is to blow the horn and stream through like that and put everybody's lives at risk because they have to get nowhere quickly. It couldn't be a medical emergency because here's the West Shore Hospital on the left, a private hospital at that. So God alone knows why drivers in Trinidad continue to risk life and drive like that. We've turned onto the Digger Martin Highway. This is a walkover and a flyover. To get from Victoria Keys and Powder Magazine to the other side. Victoria Gardens on the left. You really have to concentrate when you're driving on these roads in Trinidad because it's a bit of reckless driving at times. So we turn off of the Digger Martin Highway. This highway takes you all the way down to Wendy Fitzwilliam Boulevard. And of course, everybody should remember who Wendy Fitzwilliams is. She's the 1998 Miss Universe Trinidad and Tobago. And she's a big name in Trinidad and Tobago, and in fact all over the world, in places where Miss Universe is recognized. This is Moncoko Road. This takes us down to Petit Valley. interesting that street there is called Queen Elizabeth Avenue. There's always something to link these islands to their colonial past. So all like now we are in Petit Valley, and Petit Valley and Digger Martin are right next to each other. And you can use Montcoco Road to go all the way over the hills into Marval. Turning on to Simeon Road. This wall here, you can see the name Sparrow's Hideaway. This is the home of the mighty Sparrow. No entry. But for Sparrow fans, this is it here, Slinger Francisco. This is his home, or I don't know if it's still his home, but it used to be his home. And this is a place of music, a place of historical significance, and it's across the way from Rainorama, another place of historical significance. This is it on the left. Rainorama is Kitchener's home. So when they used to be sparring, they would have extempo and calypsos about how they're looking across at each other to see what they're up to. They were very competitive in their day. Two of the greatest calypsonians of all time. So you can just get a little glance of it there on the right. Sparrow's Hideaway. All of those lights on the other side, on the Digger Martin side, that's where Rainorama is. Perhaps we may cover that on another drive. We rejoin Montcoco Road and make our way back eventually to Port of Spain. So this is the other way now. Here's that Queen Elizabeth Avenue again. So this area here is a very nice place to live. It's relatively safe and it's easy to access most places. West Mall, where we're going, Port of Spain, St. James, and there are some nice houses out here. Good quality houses, nice designs. And even though some of them are very old, they have been renovated and upgraded to fit their time. So we come to the end of Montcoco Road and we rejoin the Digger Martin Highway. You can see another walkover there. This area is 4 roads. Where that walkover takes you. See some really pretty lights here at this new flyover. That's the entrance for Victoria Keys. Here's the entrance for the new flyover. So Victoria Keys is you can see better here. This is a government housing development and it's rather upscale. And this new flyover helps these residents to get to West Mall and on the way back along the Audrey Jeffers Highway and all the way up to Chaguaramas. This flyover does that. It's very new, probably in use about 6 months now, and this roundabout was erected in anticipation of that. So roundabouts are not very popular in Trinidad, but this one is quite necessary. And here we go into West Mall. Behind there's Westmoorings by the sea, and then there's Westmoorings on the other side, which is inland. And we are entering or driving by West Mall. The Falls at West Mall. A large, very upscale, well thought out mall. This is the northern entrance. You can see those tall buildings behind there. That's a relatively modern high-rise housing solution, and of course not within the last 5 or 10 years, but maybe 15 to 20 years, but they're still relatively modern given the nature of housing on this side. You just turn here for you to get a view of the mall. I know former President Noor Hassan Ali lived in one of these when he retired. It's very, very upscale, and behind that is the sea, so you have an idea of the area. This is West Mall. So when you come to Trinidad, you really see some big country things. This mall can rival any fancy Miami or Canadian mall. And it's quite impressive on the inside as well. So this is D and J Drives saying goodbye for our first night drive in Trinidad, and there will be a few others before we leave. Today is Saturday, the 6th of July, and it is 10:08 p.m.